very good. So welcome everyone to our e-learning community of practice for July. I thought this time what we would do is actually start some conversation happening and sharing, because recently a few of us have been to Moodle Moot, and it's always a great experience going to Moodle Moot, and you find out a lot of new things that are happening. So I thought to share with the community some of the things that we discovered and learnt. How many people in the room actually came to Moodle Moot? I can see a couple. Julie, I know, went. And
I didn't. Dora didn't.
You didn't, Dora, so you'll
No.
get to hear some of the news that we've got to share. Andrew, did you go?
No, I didn't go either.
No, and Vivian, I think Vivian was working away madly on our assessments.
Yeah, I went to the dentist between our last meeting and now, so my face is, I'm all swollen.
Oh dear, that's no good.
A big injection.
Yeah.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, how are you, Eileen?
I'm good, thank you.
We've got Andrea in the room also, and from Southwest TAFE, and Glenn Kelly from the Gordon in Geelong, who are also working on the Regional TAFE Alliance project. Colin, I think I mentioned your name already, and I know Colin, Andrew and Glenn went to Moodle Moot, and Marion. Marion's from the Gold Coast, I believe.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. And Marion was at Moodle Moot also, so you may be able to share some of the things that you discovered while you were at Moodle Moot also. So I thought today's session, I don't know how long you've been in, Marion, but it was
I've just been able to log in.
Okay, so for those who just came in, so we thought we'd use this session, it'll probably only go for about half an hour, 3/4 an hour, to talk about some of the things that we discovered at Moodle Moot. So I think when we do go to these sort of conferences, there's, you know, we experience lots of different things, and we get a lot from them, and it gets you motivated, and you just, you know, can't wait to get back and put it into practice. And so I just want people to share, you know, what was their best experience, or what was the best presentation they went to, and what did you learn that you can share with all of us. You know, that I think that'll be a really good way of sort of starting at the process. Did anyone want to go first?
I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, okay, beautiful. Okay, thanks, Mary.
But you won't, I mean, you won't be surprised to hear that the best session for me were Greg's sessions, because they were the most useful, I found.
Yes, fantastic. And
absolutely.
now what we're talking about there, those who came into the community of practice last month, we had Greg Bird demonstrate using the attributions and also the user interfaces that you can use quickly and easily in Moodle. So fantastic to hear that, Marilyn. That's really good. Julie, did you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I really like, I guess, as a presenter as well, I think the experience of presenting, going through that process of putting together your presentation or your PowerPoint with the other team members, and then coming up with the final one and turning up on the day and doing the presentation, you learn a lot about your inner resilience and your strengths and weaknesses, that's for sure.
For sure.
It's always good to see what other people are doing, and of course, you know, I'm a bit biased, but certainly Greg Bird's work and the team's, even the team's delivery of that was a great highlight of the event. I also liked, although I didn't quite make it to that one, but I do like the vet group that was developed that's going to be lobbying Moodle HQ regarding the gradebook and the practical observation.
Yeah.
I think that's a great opportunity to use the conference as an opportunity to come together and to decide on which issues are most important, and then using the strength of the willpower of the collaboration to lobby Moodle HQ. I think that's a good thing all round. To always have improvements for Moodle, I think is.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Julie. I think it's really important, and those who weren't aware that there was a lobby group from the vet sector, the vocational education area. So because we're competency based, and a lot of the Moodle was sort of geared up for university, so they're listening to us now, which is fantastic. And we've got this group set up that we can raise issues. One of the things that did come up in that session was the checklist, how it doesn't really cater for competency-based. So that's going to be organised. Now, Julie, you wouldn't have the, have you got the email address to?
Yes, I've got that somewhere. I'll find it for you if you want.
Can you put that in the chat for those who want to actually be part of that group also and hear what's going on and being part of it?
Give me a quick
Christine, can I also say something else?
Yeah.
One of the other highlights, absolute highlights, was meeting you and getting the invitation to join this group. So thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that too. It's good to hear. No, and it's all about, sharing what we know, and I think we all learn from each other, whatever it may be. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so Colin, I think you're next on my little list there. What did you find the best experience or presentation at the Middle?
Well, likewise for me, there were kind of three highlights, and obviously the one I presented was the best.
Of course.
Had absolutely nothing to do with me. No, the two from Greg I thought were brilliant, in particular because of his attitude towards sharing these kind of elements that he's put together with the wider community. And for someone who's operating his own business, to do that with our project and then just be offering that stuff up is truly in the spirit of what our project's about, but it's also what communities of practice in relation to the vet sector and education should be about. So I was really quite impressed with that. But on top of that, myself and Glenn went to a session, so Glenn will have a bit to say about this one as well. We were kind of talk about it together, I guess. Went to a session by Box Hill. A team there had developed a tool they called, I'll get the right title for it. Rapid Edit, yes. Which is, they had messed around with core Moodle code, which will be probably the hindrance of that particular project, but their purpose was twofold of doing the presentation. They wanted to sort of gauge what people thought about it. It's interesting they didn't use any sort of voting tools or anything to get that feedback, but anyway, in terms of what it could do, a little hard in a short presentation, but some of the things that I picked up from it was that it had some project management features to it. So this is kind of built into Moodle with a timeline and milestones marked as various people worked on that same project within the Moodle shell, which is kind of a neat idea. It also, one of the other pieces that sort of was memorable is they'd added a drop-down menu into the editor so that you had the ability to insert some code snippets, such as really they were very similar to Greg's UI elements, to be able to insert your elements into code. So it's a neat idea, but where it'll go to from there, I'd be interested to know. I think people were kind of impressed with the ideas, but I doubt that Moodle will be all that keen on sort of implementing it.
Yeah. But maybe it's because when they put it into that menu, isn't there? Can anyone do that, or do you have to actually go into the core code to do that?
Don't know the answer to that, Christine.
Yeah, okay. I just remember someone talking about whether they could or not, but that's something we can follow up anyhow.
The entire application that they had built, I mean, obviously they had someone who was pretty switched on in terms of coding and the being able to implement or integrate the coding changes into Moodle itself. So
yeah,
so
exactly.
what happens. So apart from that, there's many other interesting parts of Moodle and the opportunities to network. So
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Colin. Andrea, you there?
So did you want to add anything more to that?
Oh, Glenn, yes, if you want to.
I know he's going to talk about
Yep.
the same.
Oh, sure. Because I was pretty much interested in talking about the same thing. That was the thing that interested me most. And look, I just add to what Colin was saying that I guess it shows that Greg's way of approaching things probably is much more sensible. So what the Box Hill project was trying to achieve, you know, you've got things like you've got elements that like reveal slideshow, reveal progressive. I'm just having a look at it now. Reveal tabs left, reveal tabs top, video tabs. So you've got ways of presenting information that pretty much Greg is on top of, but Greg's doing it in a way where, you know, you're not overriding the core code. So it seems to me like it's kind of a much more sensible way of going about doing the whole thing. It's interesting, I guess. The other thing that I found really interesting about it was that they've, and Colin's already mentioned this, that they've put in a whole project management side of things, which seems to indicate that there's not good project management software out there for some of these projects, and we came to that same conclusion in our project and are using Zoho. But I found it really interesting that they built into, you know, Moodle core code a lot of project management functions that just address that whole building a unit kind of process. So look, I found that very interesting. I found it interesting from the point of view of the fact that I didn't know that people were going in there playing around with that core code. And I found it very illuminating from the point of view of the fact that that Greg and our team have identified a lot of the same problems with respect to Moodle, but have gone about solving them kind of in a more legitimate way. So thank you, Christine. That's probably
that's fantastic.
me.
Very good. Thanks, Glenn. I really appreciate that. And I think you're right there. There is not a lot of tools for the project management side of it, but it's interesting. And the way that Greg's done it is that it can be shared, and and you can back up the files and they'll work wherever they're restored. So I think it's probably a better solution than to do it in that core. Yeah.
I'd just add to that, I think the real advantage, though, of having these things within core is that you are doing it all within the one area. You're not going in and out of things, you know. That's the real core difference. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, obviously Greg's approach to these UI elements and so on mean that it can be done without any messing around, without the need to try and get it implemented into core code of Moodle and without messing around with code. So, you know, it means that anyone can get this stuff and anyone can use it, and that's the advantage.
The interesting thing, though, from that, Colin, is that, okay, they've done it in core and Greg's done it outside using the Bootstrap and HTML, but there's no reason why Moodle couldn't give us more options within the menu. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's if Moodle do take any notice of this sort of stuff themselves, you know, you would kind of expect that they might say, oh, those are nice enhancements, we could add these things.
Yeah, exactly. And then that was one of the comments from I can't remember, it was a lady from University of South Australia. She was saying from the last eCop meeting that was the best thing she's ever heard of, and if Moodle had, you know, even embraced that to make it so much easier for us designers to create something that's a bit more engaging and a bit more visual. Yeah, so that's a good point. Okay, I don't know if Andrea's off the phone as yet, but if not, I can go on and talk about, I'll just go on and talk about some of the things I found really interesting. And Marilyn is where I met. Marilyn was in this session, actually, the Educator Certificate Program, and it's something that I think is really, really good. And they actually started creating this probably about 2 years ago, But I think the person that was heading that development actually died suddenly. So it sort of lost a bit of momentum, but it's back up again. And there's 22 modules to this certificate. And this educator certificate program, it's so that you can receive a certificate that is recognised worldwide, which is fantastic. I mean, we learn so much about Moodle and how we create things and how we use it. To be able to be recognised for it is a great thing. So there's 4 teaching approaches: design, guide, connect and reflect. So they're the 4, and each one of those has units or underneath it. And we actually did one on the day, and I think it was a learner collaboration. So it was in the connect one. And they did that, we did it for free. It haven't been corrected yet though. I've lodged my creation, but it hasn't been marked. And we will get a badge. So each one of those, there's 22 of them. You get a badge for each one, and then you'll get your final certificate once you've done it. But I was just, I can actually put a link into the chat for you. But, that's the next thing I was going to talk about. I'll go on to this now anyhow. But with that, when I was reading through, I did see from the last one, it was $499 American in some of the literature that I was looking at. So, but they haven't told us how much that qualification will cost. That's for the whole lot. But I mean, I think it's a great investment. And I can see it being a great way of even training staff, as long as you did it with some blended delivery and using that and customising it to your own organisation. But I think it's fantastic. The other thing that I thought it was really good was what's coming up in Moodle 3.7. And one of the improvements, and I've only just put a couple of things there for the teacher and the learner, the forum improvements, and this is in 3.7. I think at the moment we're using 3.5.3, just about to upgrade to 3.6. Is anyone in the room using 3.7? Not yet? Okay, well, it's coming, so it's good to know what's coming. The forum improvement, you can sort and star discussions, add discussions in the reply inline, and teachers can manually lock discussions and reply privately, which you haven't been able to do. So if you had a discussion forum happening and people were reflecting and you didn't want to embarrass anyone, or you just wanted to make a suggestion to someone, you can do it privately now, whereas before everyone saw your posts. So only the teacher can do it, but the student can see the private message, which is, obviously. There's some great user-friendly analytics that's going to be available in the new one. The messaging has been overhauled, open badge and support activity. Now I did get, I'm just going to flick here and actually open up this one here, because this one actually has all the different things. My learning space was a session that did all the 3.7 updates, and it was a session that I went to, and it was a workshop actually, because you actually developed, they gave you a sandpit and you developed a course using different strategies. For instance, you had to have something that was engaging, some content in a book. You had to have a activity like a quiz, and you also had to put some feedback somewhere the student could put feedback. But for teachers, so the forum improvements, as you can see there, can you, everyone see my screen? I just want to make sure you can. Yes, good. So you've got the private reply session, the manual lock discussions and sort and star discussions, and in the better group messaging, so you can delete messages from all in the group. You can mute messages and group messages, email digest. So you can do those. What's one of the other ones? Course custom fields, add extra course details in course settings, which is great. Display course duration, module requirements, etc. Custom fields visible in course description. And the competency-based, if you're using that feature, it's got award badges, but we don't use badges. How many people in the room actually use badges in their Moodle? Anyone? No. I think I'm getting a shaking of heads for most. Yeah, okay.
We
Yeah,
have We have in the past, but
Have
it's not, it's not, we haven't embraced it in our newer versions, but we have issued badges, not through Moodle as such, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see the for and against. I think it's a great, like I know myself when I do online courses and I get a badge, I get really excited. And you accumulate all these badges. You know, you can get a badge for doing your profile. Has anyone done that, those courses online?
You just like the bling.
I love bling. I do love bling. Open to study. And one of my colleagues started doing the open to study, and she go, "Oh, I got a badge." And I thought, "God, that's pretty childish." And until I started doing it myself, and I got a badge for doing my profile, and then I got a badge for commenting in the forum, and then I got a badge for doing. And you get quite exciting. You get all these badges happening, and it's a really good way of motivating students along the journey. So I can see that it really a great thing. Some of the universities that don't like the badges because they've got to mean something, you know, like you can't just, it has to be consistency with what that badge represents. And I can understand that also. But I think if it's just used for that gamification, I think it's fine, yeah. But anyway, it has to be an institute agreement on that. And at this stage, we haven't got that, unfortunately. So new for trainers, I think we just did that one. Oh, that was for admin, sorry, trainers. And the learner one, this is what I wanted to show you too, because I think that's important. So the message overhaul, the forum improvements and the competency links, that's if you're using that, and the activity improvement. Now, I thought this was really good. Prints books with more attractive displays. Okay, who's printed a book before? It's pretty standard, isn't it? Just go all the way down.
It's basic, yeah.
Pardon?
It's basic, yeah.
It's very basic. Well, apparently there's going to be some enhancements in 3.7, so it's more attractive when it's printed. Because there's a lot of, especially in the trades, like we're creating, developing content for building construction. And a lot of those guys, they can read the content on their phones and whatever, but a lot of them are out in the field and that sort of thing. To be able to print a book if they want to, and to have it in a more pleasant format would be good, yeah. Include media in lesson essays, questions, and clear all link in multiple choice quiz questions so you can clear that all. So they're some of the things that are coming. Now I might pass over to Andrea because I think Andrea is the only one who hasn't shared with us yet. So Andrea, would you like to just tell us what you found it exciting?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed Moodle. This is the third Moodle that I've been to, and this one was very different to the others as I've a lot further on in what I know about Moodle now. I think I got a lot out of the first one. I think Moodle pitches at the beginner, and it needs to have a stream for the advanced Moodler. So there's too much of the beginner in it, and that's the feedback that I haven't done yet, but I will give them, is that I really love a advanced Moodler stream. So and more of the more in-depth with the talks. I did like some of the talks that were there, but I found that a lot of them are quite broad, and there's not enough of the not enough takeaways, and that's why I think Greg Bird's talks went down really well, in that people got a lot out of them. They actually were able to take and implement things directly from it. So yeah, that was my feeling. What I really like about Moodle Moot is the networking and connecting. I really like the fact that there's a vet, we're able to have that vet meeting, and there's going to be action coming out of that, of a group working so that we get sort of more of a vet perspective on Moodle. So that's my Moodle feedback.
I think that's really good. And actually, I put in my Moodle feedback that there needs to be more advanced sessions for those who are more developed in their Moodle development. And I think that other comment you made about some of the sessions, I mean, they're only 15 minutes. You only skim the surface. I mean, if you had longer sessions, especially on complex topics, that you could probably get more out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, or I think there needs to be more
workshops.
No, maybe then at when you go to put your ideas into Moodle needs to be perhaps a little bit more prescriptive of what's in it for the person watching.
Yeah.
They need to actually state what's in it for the person watching. You know, is it just, are we just disseminating information, or is there a little bit more of a takeaway for how people can use Moodle? That's what what sort of it needs to be. I think the talks need to be directed in that way. Is thinking about what's in it more for the people.
So more in the guidelines for when you're putting a presentation together, having that extra criteria that, you know, what is the audience going to achieve by watching their presentation. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's really good comments, actually. Anyone would like to make a comment or ask a question? For those who didn't go to Moodle that may want to ask people in the room that did go. Any questions from everyone?
Nothing particular here about Moodle, but I do have a question you might be able to help Christine on the book improvements you were referring to. One question that's come up here is the possibility of putting a boilerplate copyright notification on the bottom of printed books.
Ah, that's a good comment, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen what the new look of these activity books will look like, and what, you know, what the actual outcome of those printed books is. But yeah, so at the moment it has it on the front cover, doesn't it?
There can be one, yes. You can. I don't believe it's.
It's not on the footer, no.
It's not, and we've had a little bit of a play with some CSS to do that with some.
Oh, have you? Yeah.
Some styling, which does work, but it's a bit clunky.
I'm just having a look because there's nowhere on the bottom to actually show where you could have your footer. Yeah.
No, and the book printing module is actually quite a separate module from the display from the display you're looking at there.
Yeah.
So it's the functionality seems to be locked up in the module, but if we could perhaps pass that back up the chain, it'd be worth.
Yeah, I think if we all actually put something in to Moodle, it may get actioned. Yeah. I'm just sorry. I print book. That's what I want to do. Just it says a site.
Yeah.
Printed by, and yeah.
But no sort of legally binding copyright statement.
No. Except with actually the source doesn't open up. Actually, I must talk to Greg about that one. Okay, good comment though. But that is something that would be good to have the copyright on it. But with the book, like I'm looking at this book, if I print the book, I don't know whether it'll show me the print preview. It might do. Yeah, loading preview, just so that we all can see. And what you're saying is at the bottom here.
It would be lovely to have an imprint on every page, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because at the moment it just puts the site where it's come from. So I suppose that in a way is saying that who owned the book. But I know what you're saying. You want something a bit more glamorous than that.
I think so, yeah, a bit more glamorous and a bit more binding.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Exit. Well, better get out of that. I don't want to do any more of that. Okay. And now we've got more sessions coming up in the following months, August, September, October, November and December if we're still around. Has anyone got any suggestions for our next eCop meeting or community of practice? Is there a topic that you would really like to learn about or share for that meeting in August?
Well, for me, given that everybody has expressed their pleasure of Greg's presentations, perhaps something a little bit more technical.
Okay, we did
in some way.
Greg's last time. So there is a recording of Greg's presentation if you haven't seen it already, Andrew.
Oh, good.
So you can go and view that. And if you haven't got it, it will be on that last email that I sent you. There'll be a link to the YouTube video, which is a recording, and also the links to all those user interfaces are in that email also. And if you've lost the email, I can send it out again without any problem. But something more technical, I think that's a really good idea. Any suggestions, or I'll just source someone who's doing something great?
Well, from a personal perspective, I've been playing with in a Sandpit site with some scripting and some HTML modification through JavaScript and CSS. I just wonder what everybody else is doing in that regard as well.
Do you want to showcase what you're doing next time?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a bit embarrassed by it, really.
No.
Possibly.
It's all sharing and caring, and it's just nice to see what other people are doing. So if you don't mind, that'd be fantastic.
Quite possibly. All right.
Okay.
I can't critique JavaScript or code, so I'm oblivious, so I won't judge you at all.
Well, we can't, but we can see what you're achieving, and I think that's probably the great thing, to see what you're creating in that environment. So that'd be great if you could showcase that. And I'll anyone else in the room is doing anything that they'd like to share? Okay, all right, I'll put it out to the community, and there may be a couple others who want to share something. All right, so our next meeting will be in August. I'll send an invitation out. And the lunchtime seems to be the best time, because if you are teaching, that you can still jump in. And it will be, it usually only goes for half an hour to 3/4 an hour, even though the appointment might say an hour. I always like to allow extra, just in case someone is really enthusiastic about a topic, and we can continue if we need to. All right, so thank you everyone for attending. Yes, sorry, Colin.
Just wondering if we've got more details about this focus group
yes,
sort of formed at Moodle, whether there's, this is an opportunity to share that sort of information. I don't know.
In the chat, Julie's put the email address of who to write to, who is going to be the instigator or coordinating the group, and let us know when there's maybe a Zoom meeting or get together of some sort.
Perhaps we could invite Paul Barry to come along.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah, I'll see Paul next week actually. So I can invite him to come into our community of practice, and he can talk to us about what the group's going to do and how it's going to lobby with Moodle headquarters. Okay, so and he'll be happy to do that, I'm sure. All right, that's good. Thanks, Colin. I appreciate that. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you for everyone who came, and we'll look forward to next time. Okay.
See you,
Christine.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.